What's up, y'all? Welcome to another episode of Mike and T Talks. As always, we got the topics for y'all today, so we're going to jump right in. Our first topic of the night is: do you think people will settle when they're desperate for companionship? I personally think that people will settle whether that person is good for them or not. When you're lonely, you'll pretty much settle for anything. And I know a few people, life experience, that's happened to, that I look at and I'm just like, what's going on here? How did you and this person get together? Because this isn't your type. This isn't who I've seen you with. And normally, if you're settling, it's not going to be a long lasting relationship.
Yeah, people will kind of lower their standards a little bit.
Definitely. Like,
And
if you gonna settle, you have to be lowering whatever standards you've set for yourself.
right, it's like almost like you give up
Because you
on your
need
own stuff because
somebody.
you need somebody. So yeah.
So today I'm gonna be reading some of the key points from an article that I found that titles Five Reasons We Settle Anyway in a Relationship. Again, y'all know I don't read full articles. I give you key points and then I drop the link in the comments if you want to read it from cover to cover for yourself. We're going to start with the very first sentence, which is quoted: I knew I was settling and I settled anyway. Let's be clear. When somebody is settling, they are very aware that they're settling. It's not something that you have to tell them because 9 times out of 10, they already know. So, looking through this, it seems like one of the reasons would be age. And I can see that maybe your dating pool isn't really hidden the way that you want it to. That can go for people in their 20s, 30s, 40s, and up. Just the way that the dating scene is right now, it's hard to find somebody that actually wants to be in a relationship because a lot of people are expressing their independence nowadays
Right.
of not having to be with anyone. A lot of people are okay with it, but then you have the other side, a lot of people that are not okay. The second reason can be loneliness. Obviously, if you are not equipped with being alone and okay in that space, it's going to be hard for you to deal with.
Yeah, we talked about that previously. Matter of fact, I was always the type to just be okay with being alone.
Right.
Obviously, learning to love yourself. So I just feel like, yeah, that one's
Well,
kind of.
see, I was the type who had to get used to being alone because it's like if I wasn't in a relationship, then I was surrounded by friends all the time.
Mm,
So when I was by myself, I was bored. Of course, there were things that I could have been doing. I could have learned a new skill, but
mm-hmm.
instead, I'm sitting here wondering when's the next time I'm gonna hang out with my crew or when's the next time I'm gonna see my boyfriend. So when it got to the point where I was just really, really tired of someone else making me happy,
Mm-hmm.
I chose to look within and just be like, okay, Tierney, let's get it together. Like, you can make yourself happy, so let's do this. And that's when I started traveling more and I started just getting to know me more
Yeah.
so that it became a situation where I didn't need anybody to do anything that I was, ready to get up and do.
Yeah, I loved it. I never felt lonely.
You loved your solo
Oh
days.
man.
One of the next reasons is dating burnout, and I kind of want to elaborate on this one a little bit. I'm gonna take dating burnout to mean that you're dating and you're thinking that it's going somewhere, and a curveball gets thrown into the mix, and it ends up not going anywhere, or you end up getting played.
Mm,
So you're burnt out on dating. You no longer want to try to get to know anybody. You really just want to be like, all right, we're together. We're in a relationship. Like, this is what it is.
yeah.
And I'll learn about you later.
Mm.
So dating burnout can be a thing, but
Yeah, be careful with that.
you do have to be really careful because people are crazy.
Right.
And I went through dating burnout, but when I was burnt out, I got to the point where I just wanted to be by myself. I didn't want to deal with nobody else. Yet another reason can be social support. It says that many times people lack social support. And I guess that social support can come from anyone,
Mhm.
family, friends, a relationship. It ties into loneliness for me. If you don't feel supported in any of your social circles, what have you got?
Right.
And I think it can drive you to wanting to find a companion, whether that companion is good for you or not. The last reason is self belief. And that kind of plays back on what you feel your self worth is. So if you feel like you're not worthy of holding people to your standards and waiting on the right person to date, you're going to settle for whatever's out there. And it's not necessarily worthy of who you are as a person, you know?
Yeah.
So, do I think that people can settle when they're lonely? Absolutely. Do I think that it's the right thing to do? No, I don't. When you settle, you just leave the door open to be taken advantage of. You leave the door open for people to treat you any type of way, and you stay because it's what you're needing at the time or what you feel like you need. But I don't know. I just feel like when you're desperate for companionship, that is the time to really get to know yourself
Yeah.
and find yourself.
Don't sell yourself short, for sure.
No, I don't ever do that. Because if you had standards to begin with, what is the point in losing those
Right.
just to be with somebody? You might as well keep them. So that way, when the right person comes along and they start checking off these boxes, you don't have to wonder if you're settling. You already know you're not. Our next topic revolves around what's considered spontaneous in a relationship. You have to have spontaneity in a relationship. You have to. If you don't, 9 times out of 10, your relationship is going to be a lot more boring than what it should be.
Yeah.
We have worked on spontaneity a lot. I feel like we've definitely gotten better at it over the years, but honestly, it started from the beginning with us. I can recall a time where I was working at Lowe's and we were talking. We were in the midst of dating. And I told him that I never, ever got a weekend off, like a full weekend, Friday through Sunday off from Lowe's, ever. And it just so happened that I looked at the schedule a couple weeks later and I had that weekend off. We were on the way to our second date. And I tell him, I'm like, guess what? He's like, what? And I'm like, I'm off for a whole weekend. So he looks at me and proceeds to go, ooh, where are we going? Y'all, culture shock, because I'd never had anybody be like, oh, you're off all weekend? I know you don't get a lot of these off. So what are we doing?
Yeah.
We took a cute little trip to Memphis. That was our first little getaway together for the first time ever. And I mean, it was amazing. We did all the things that tourists do. We went to the zoo. We hit up Bill. We went to Joe's, and that lady got us so lifted.
Ooh,
She got a great tip.
man. I still remember that. Man.
But the spontaneity, it's there. You just have to continue to, add fire to the flame, basically. So I'm going to read you guys a little definition of what it means to be spontaneous. Spontaneous means happening or done in a natural, often sudden way without any planning or without being forced. So it's something that you think about in the moment that isn't planned for your partner or for your relationship. And most of the time, the results are pretty good. I have seen all over the internet all types of men that are spontaneous with the text that says, I laid out this dress. I laid out these shoes. Be ready at 7. You know nothing until you get ready and you get there. And from my experience, women really love spontaneity. I don't often like surprises, and he knows that. So he has to give me just a little bit more in order for me to be down for what we're doing. But I try not to ruin the surprises because with a kid, his work schedule, my work schedule, and everything, sometimes it's hard to find that time to be spontaneous. So when he's sitting aside the time to do that for me, I like to give credit where credit is due and not ruin it. So we're moving on to an article about spontaneity and keeping the spark in your relationship. Again, I don't read articles, but I will be linking this. It's called 11 Ways to Rekindle the Spark in Your Relationship. So we are starting from the beginning. First of all, it is super, super, super normal for the spark to not always be there. Okay. Don't let anybody tell you that it's not. When you're dealing with work and life is lifing,
Mhm.
it's hard to keep a spark. You have to work at it. It doesn't mean that you don't love your partner. If your spark is fizzling a little bit, it's not what it means. It just means that y'all need to reconnect and come back to center to be able to figure out how to throw that fire back in there. We begin with it saying to reignite the passion, try revisiting the beginning. And I take that to mean a whole bunch of things. You can go back to where you had your first date. You can go back to, the way that y'all used to talk when y'all were dating, those 3, 4 hour talks when y'all just used to talk about everything. My favorite place of all time from our relationship is the Murray Lock and Dam Bridge. Because for our first date, that was where we went after eating, went to go walk the bridge, and we talked about everything. We were out there all night walking back and forth. The lights were changing, it was a mood, and that's also where we had our first kiss. So anytime we pull up at Murray Lock and Dam, I'm excited. Brings back very, very good memories for
Special.
me. Yeah, very special. How did you feel about that night?
Man, it felt like we were the only ones there.
Right, the people around and
Yeah.
everything, but it was a vibe. So if you're trying to figure out how to throw the spark back in your relationship, maybe take your girl or your man to a place that automatically puts a smile on their face as soon as they pull up. You can bring intimacy back by sharing secrets. In me and Michael's case, we gossip. We talk about y'all.
uh,
We talk about work tea, family tea, friend tea. We talk about all of it. I mean, we don't we don't keep secrets from each other.
oh
Now,
man.
you would never know that he knew, but trust me, he know. But it brings us closer together.
Yeah.
uh, Another option is to get your hearts racing together. And one of the instances on here is bungee jumping. Another one is a haunted house. All things that I do not do. I don't know how do we what?
I'll do the honey house.
Yeah, you will. It's a wrap for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do haunted houses, y'all. So getting your hearts racing together, we have to figure out something else to do because all that crazy stuff like skydiving and all of that, he with that. I'm not.
Need bungee jumping. I skydive.
I said skydiving,
Yeah.
but I'm not with it. No, thank you. We can go for a run or something.
Okay.
It says, don't underestimate the power of a thank you. Thank yous can go a long way, especially with us now. Having Mari, just doing the little things can put a spark back in our relationship. And I mean, little things like, washing her cups if I'm not really feeling it that day, or he'll come home and basically tell me take the night off. I got it. I'll do everything. He'll come home, he'll feed her, give her a bath, wash the cups, make sure that dinner is ready and everything. That for me puts a spark back in, not only because I see the effort that's being put into the relationship to help out when I'm tired, but it gives me more energy to, you know, want to ignite that fire and everything. It gives me the energy that I need. I mean, after a long day of working and being a mom, sometimes you just ain't got it.
So
And same thing with you after a 12-hour shift. Sometimes you just don't have it.
pushing through daily.
Always.
Yeah.
Another way is to burn your resentments. We have never tried this.
No,
And
we
we have a
haven't.
fire pit outside.
Huh.
And
Let's
I
do that.
think this would be, I think this really would have came in handy when we were like newly parents. Like burning our resentments, writing everything down that we may potentially resent about our partner, our relationship, whatever, and burning it and letting it go.
Right.
I encourage y'all to do this. It's something about burning whatever you've written down or the things that are laying on your heart that's really healing. Because it's like getting rid of it permanently for you to move forward. Another way is to take sex off the table. Sometimes rekindling means getting away from the physical aspect and going back to connecting like
Mentally.
mentally
Yeah.
and spiritually. We've done that. We've asked for prayer in church before when we were going through hard times. We've had people lay hands on us when we were going through hard times to get us back to center. We've prayed together when we're going through a hard time or something's going on and we just don't have the solution right now. We'll sit down and we'll pray together. It doesn't always have to be a physical aspect. I'm not saying take it off the table completely. I'm just saying that sex does not fix everything. That's just the God honest truth.
Correct.
Another way to rekindle your spark, though, speaking of sex, is to have sex on the table. It literally says that. It says have sex on the table. Apparently, y'all should read this article. It's good. There's a 30-day sex challenge where you're committed to having sex every day. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that.
Mhm.
I think circumstances revolve around that. It's
Man,
got to be some different circumstances
so
or something.
one day we just, all right, we got to do this, and
It's like planning it
it's just
out.
flat. I'm talking just no nothing, just
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know about like every single day. I don't know.
the energy is not gonna be the same every single
Mm,
day.
definitely not.
Yeah, because each day is different. Is yeah,
Now it does say that sexual connection is something that deserves attention. 1000%, I feel that, but also I feel like you have to be realistic. You're not going to be in the mood every single day of every single month of every single year. Another way is to, as you begin to revive your relationship, you plan secret dates for each other, which goes back to what I was saying. Another one of his spontaneous, I don't know if you could call it a date, but it was a Mother's Day gift. I hadn't had a massage in years. It's been a while, probably been like 3 or 4 years. So he texts me one day and he goes, "Hey, I'm getting Mari after school on this day. I need you to go to this address." So I go and it's a massage for an hour 15, hour 30, something like that. Best massage of my life, but spontaneous, absolutely loved him for it because it's something that I have been talking about for months, just about my back aching and about running around after Mari and needing a break and needing a massage. And it showed me that he was actually listening to me. Listening to your partner is key if you're going to be spontaneous. Another thing you can do is give each other some space. I 100% believe in giving your partner space sometimes to be by themselves so that they can be a better partner for you. Michael has a game room, and the first time that we ever showed anybody in the family the room in the back, they look at me and they're like, "Oh, you let him have a game room?" And I'm like, "Absolutely, I do." Because when I need my space, that's his space for him to go be in while I'm in my space. And then we can come back and we can reconnect later. But I love him, but I can't be around him 24/7, 7 days a week. I can't. I need the separation sometimes to be able to come back and tell you stuff and
Yeah,
talk to you about stuff that you don't know, or to just give me time to miss you. You can be in the next
that's
room
the key.
and I'll come and be like, "Hey, what you doing?" I
Oh,
come in your space all the time
right.
when I'm ready. So, definitely appreciate giving your partner some space. As you fall in love again, make sure to take care of yourself. Again, y'all, self
Always.
love.
I swear we've talked about this like
Every episode.
every episode.
Self love is the best love. The love that you get from your partner is amazing, but nobody is going to be able to love you like you can love yourself.
Boom.
And that's
That's
real.
real.
So the more that you pour into yourself, the more that you'll be able to pour into your relationship.
That's it. That's it.
That's how you keep your spark. All right. So this is just a story, not an am I the asshole? More like a question story. So the topic is, how do you keep the spark alive? Says I, 24 female, have been with my boyfriend, 22 male, for almost a year now. We live together and parent our two dogs. I'm very happy in our relationship, and honestly, being with him has finally enabled me to be my true self and help me deal with my toxic family. I'm the happiest I've ever been. However, I have been reading a lot of posts on here about relationships, and I'm seeing so much cheating and so many breakups. It all starts with the couple losing feelings for each other, and the relationship is just getting blah, and at least one partner is becoming bored. I'm honestly really scared and nervous of this happening. My married friends have told me it is going to happen to us eventually, and it happens to everyone, but I don't want to believe that. My question is, how do I prevent a relationship from becoming boring? What have any married couples or long term couples on here done to keep your spark alive? So let's address the fact that yes, everybody does go through it.
Yes.
Everybody goes through a phase where their spark is kind of fizzling out. There's nothing you can do about coming up to that phase, but there are things that you can do to keep your relationship together. I know with us, when we feel like we're in the roommate space or we feel like there's a disconnect between the two of us because we haven't, been able to sit down and talk, or the work schedules are crazy, we use this time when we're not podcasting to sit down and talk to each other and explain, hey, I'm feeling a disconnect. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's something that you're doing. I'm just telling you that this is how I feel, and I want to figure out what we need to do to fix it. We do that a lot.
Yeah. And then we get to planning something or whatever. Like, yeah, we need to do this weekend or do that this weekend. Baby, you want to try this?
Hmm.
Just doing different stuff.
And I mean, we've planned like small little getaway trips. We've planned date nights when we have a babysitter to just go and reconnect with each other. And we always come out on the other end
Feeling
feeling
real
like,
good.
yeah, that's what we needed to do. It happens. I believe it happens in every relationship. You just have to be willing to put the work in. So you can't be scared of a spark kind of, I don't want to say dying out, but that's the best word that I can use for it. You can't be scared of it. It's better for you to be prepared
Yeah.
and know what you need to do in order to keep your relationship solid. And as always, communication is key. You can't be, most of the time when somebody is cheating, it might be because neither one of y'all are checking in. I check in with him all the time, just asking him, hey, are you happy with the relationship right now? Are you happy the way things are going? Are there things that you feel like we could both work on to be better in our relationship? We have these talks all the time because it's important. Your relationship is never going to be just stagnant.
I was just about to say that. Right. It's not gonna take care of itself
Right.
as each day goes. You know, I try to tell people all the time that ask about relationships, especially about me and my wife's relationship, how do we keep it going so strong? I said, it's a lot of work. like from the outside looking in, you'll never know. But we put a lot of work in to keep this thing rolling. You
We
know what I'm
do.
saying? We want to be together forever. You know, the death do us part, and like just bringing a kid into it that adds more
Yes.
work. So you just have to put in the work. That's just that's as simple as I can say it. Just have to put in the work.
You do. And when you determine that you want to be with that person for the rest of your life, it's easier than you think to put in the work. It doesn't feel like a job. It just feels like you're consistently building on the relationship that you have. So I definitely agree. And you get asked that a lot as far
A
as
whole lot.
like how do you how do
Um,
we keep it
and it's crazy
together?
because I'm a male. I always think they would more ask a female
Not
that question.
necessarily because with females, we know what we're going to do in order to keep the relationship
Yeah,
alive.
that's true.
You don't find too many males who are open to telling you what they're willing to do or the things that they're continuing to do in their relationship. The ones that I feel like are really in touch with their feelings are more likely to tell you what they're doing to keep their woman happy and to keep their relationship,
Yeah,
on a consistent track. But you get asked that because I mean, most people don't talk about it. Most men don't talk about it. It's a stigma.
yeah. I also think that if you really feeling this girl, it's gonna like
Happen naturally.
yeah, it's gonna happen naturally. And like if you just playing around or whatever, and then
You
you
need to
wonder
get
why,
some booty.
yeah, and you wonder why it ain't just it ain't working, it ain't just flowing right. That's why,
That's
because
why it's
it's
not genuine.
yeah, it's not genuine. It ain't gonna work. It ain't genuine. So that's self-explanatory.
Yeah.
That's just me
So
though. That's just how I think about it.
yeah, and I think that's good. I think that's spot on. So if you're trying to keep the spark alive and you work at it, it's something that you'll be able to do. You just gotta stay consistent with it.
Yes.
If you're gonna be spontaneous, stay consistent with being spontaneous. Don't do it and then fall off in the relationship because it'll be noticed. So our last topic of the night revolves around whether or not you can get married quickly and still have your happily ever after. The way that people who have dated for 2 or 3 years get married and have their happily ever after. At the time that me and Michael were dating, it didn't seem fast to me because, again, I had known him since I was 16 and I went with him to his senior prom. So I knew him. I just didn't know everything about him. But the people that were in my life at the time when we got engaged definitely thought that we were moving pretty quick. And that's not family, because family could care less. Most of my family stayed out of my business. It was the friends that were like, dang, girl, y'all are moving pretty quick. For reference, we got married. I keep saying that we did not get married. We got engaged 11 months after he asked me to be his girlfriend officially. Or actually, no, probably 10 and some change
Yeah,
because
about 10 and some, yeah,
we
10 and
hadn't
some
even hit
change.
11 months
Yeah, we
yet.
hadn't hit 11 months yet.
So when I came back from, he proposed in St. Louis. We were on a little getaway to St. Louis to see family and to just spend some time together, his family. And he proposed there. He was going to propose with everyone, like all my family, my friends, his family, and everything. But it ended up being really complicated to try to get everybody in one space. So he pulled me aside one day and asked me how important it was for my family to be there. And I told him, of course, I would want them to. But if it's not working out, because I was ready to be engaged to this man, I was like, do whatever it is you feel like you want to do. And I'm okay with that. I'm ready to get engaged and nobody's gonna stop that. So we went to St. Louis. It was really beautiful. He proposed in front of the do you call them what do you call them? Water? They're not
Little
waterfalls.
fountains.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fountains. And I mean, of course I said yes, and we enjoyed the rest of our trip. And we came back, and it was just a whole bunch of commentary
Yes, a whole bunch of
about
commentary.
about what we had done. But I mean, at the end of the day, it wasn't about anybody else. It was about us. I was happy. He was happy. And now we've been together for 6 years, married for almost four.
Right.
So, I mean, I think that timing doesn't necessarily have to play a factor. Like, if this is the person that you want to be with, and you know for sure that you want to be with this person for the rest of your life, and you know that they feel the same about you, I don't think it matters when you choose to get married.
Yeah, that's true.
And for the record, because of COVID, we actually ended up being engaged for 2 years.
Yep.
So we were together, we were already living together, and then we got engaged and we proceeded, I guess you could honestly say, to get to know each other even more, like our living habits and the pet peeves. That's how I found out he was OCD about like me leaving my stuff everywhere, like, so COVID ended up being a blessing in disguise for us because we were able to get to know each other even more. But I don't think even if COVID didn't happen,
Nah, nah.
I feel like we would still be together.
Yeah,
So I
definitely.
don't know, do you think that, timing plays a factor? Do you think that it has to play a factor at all?
No,
Cuz
not really. It's think if you, like you said, if you know you want to be with somebody, you know.
and some people are living proof that time does not matter. And I'm talking about the people that are still in relationships, not married,
Right.
but in relationships for 10 plus years. No shade to y'all. I'm just saying that
It's a long,
clearly,
it's a long time.
yeah, I'm like, clearly there are two sides to the spectrum. Like, you don't have to be with somebody for years and years to get married and have a happily ever after. Just because you've been with a person for longer than somebody else doesn't mean anything. You could be with somebody for years, marry them, and then it not work out,
Yeah.
and you divorce. And there's this other couple over here who got married after knowing each other for 6 months, and they're together, they're happy and
20 years
thriving.
strong, right?
Right. So, nah, I don't feel like timing should play a factor at all as far as how quickly you get married. You want to get married tomorrow? Go get married tomorrow. Go
People
down to the courthouse and do it.
seen people do that.
Yeah,
Yes.
I've seen a lot of people do that. Our generation is so misconstrued on marriage.
Yeah.
I mean, it's basically a miracle if you find somebody who wants to get married like you do.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, our generation is more into being together. You might throw a title on it, you might not throw a title on it, but
They just want to have somebody.
right. But I mean, our generation just is not as dead set on marriage anymore. And I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I
Yeah.
mean, you want to be independent, get how you live, pimp.
Yeah. Be independent.
I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I think it breaks a lot of stigmas because, of course, old school, that was the way you did it. You met, you courted, you got married, you had children, you
Well,
lived a happy life.
had the generational thing start.
Yeah.
So
So our generation definitely kind of breaks the norm of how marriage is supposed to go, when you're supposed to get married, when you're supposed to have kids. I personally love that about our generation. I just grew up with the thought that this is what I want
mm-hmm.
for my life. I want to get married. I want to have children. I want to be a wife. I want to have a home, all the things, because that's what I saw
Yeah.
growing up.
Same.
So what I saw is what I eventually came to want. But it doesn't always work like that.
Yeah.
So no, I mean, you can have your happily ever after whenever you feel like it, actually.
There's no time limit
No time
at
limit.
all.
That is all we have for y'all today. Again, we appreciate y'all coming along on this ride with us. We enjoy talking to y'all. So we're glad that y'all take the time out to listen to what we got to say.
Thank
Babe?
y'all so much. And like I said, just like and subscribe. And stay tuned for her episode drops
every Wednesday.
every Wednesday.
We'll see y'all next time.
All right, peace.
Peace.